Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast. We're back again. It's us, the guys, the fellas, reunited for the first time. Well, in what feels like longer than about a week and a half. The last episode was great because Endo lost power 50 minutes into it.
Oh, yeah.
And we lost all of his audio and all of his video. But he's here this time. Endurance, how are you?
I'm tired, dude. I just got back from painting the bedroom, and it was great because it was my mom and I being passive aggressive with each other. So it's always great.
That sounds awful, actually.
Yeah,
it was actually pretty good. We were relatively quiet, but she just tried to teach me something or give me advice or whatever. I'm just like, shut up. I'm sleeping. I haven't slept. I'm here painting a room. It's really hot in here. There's no light because we're doing the ceiling, and it was just like I don't want the advice. I love you, but please stop. I just want to get this done, kind of thing.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah,
I agree with Sin. That sounds horrific.
Character building.
Yeah, that's a way to view it. Sin, I would ask how you're doing, but our first topic of the day has to do with something that I know has been a big source of frustration within our big friendo group chat.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me your thoughts on Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh my god. Okay, all right. So they re-released the classic collection of Star Wars Battlefront. And it's basically the first two games now with servers back. Something that we had way back in the day, of course. And it's a freaking mess. The servers were awful to start off with. You cannot party up with your friends to join lobbies together. The only way you can maybe play with your friends is create a private match and then just search the name of the match that you created and then all join. But all you can do is instant action, just playlists of maps. They don't have online for Galactic Conquest, any sort of co-op, so you can't play the campaign online with your friends. They reduced native split screen from 4 to 2, and they charge you $35 for AI slop because they quote unquote updated all the graphics, except your FPS is limited to 30 if you're playing online, so it's not updated
30?
whatsoever. Yep. Your FPS is limited to 30. All the textures were updated, but they didn't compress anything. So the two games are 70 gigs of space, whereas in the past, I think it was it was less than 10 gigabytes of space for the two games on their own in the past as the classic versions of them. It's not a remake. It is a scam cash grab. And I hope hell my refund goes through because this is bullshit. And the only reason I got that was on the hope that you could play Galactic Conquest online. Why else would you get that game? Why not just play the modern Battlefronts? Because all they are is just, blaster go burr online. So why not just play those fucking games if you can't do any of the cool game modes that was in that game online? It's literally a copy paste that takes up too much space and costs way too much. Just buy the originals. Buy the fucking originals. They're $20 combined anywhere. And you have the same experience. Besides, we can't play online. Who the fuck cares?
It's funny how you mention compression and all that, and how games now are just bloated at like a motherfucker. The newest Call of Duty game is 120 gigabytes at minimum.
Mm-hmm.
At least now with some games you can install the campaign or the online, but the online is 100 gigs, and it's the campaign's only 30 gigs of space. But my favorite was when the Xbox One launched. Titanfall was was a launch game for that game, and they found out that Titanfall was one of the biggest size for an install for a game. And then they found out that the reason why the install was so big is that they used uncompressed audio files. Out of all things, of all the space, it was just all audio files, and people were "This, are you serious?"
I have been watching this vaunted group chat that I mentioned because obviously the reason why we haven't been here for the past little bit is your boy got COVID finally, and as much as people are like, oh, it's just the flu, that's still not really conducive to good quality for someone who talks for a living.
Yeah.
So we missed some time.
Basically. The flu still sucks. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, as if having the flu doesn't suck, as if not being able to breathe properly doesn't suck.
Yeah, people die of the flu. We went from people die of the flu to COVID's just the flu.
Right. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's great. People are great. I had some fun interactions on Twitter during that time. But I had been paying attention to this, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be Sin Rant worthy, because we were looking forward to this game and the idea of like, oh shit, we can play this game. Like, we wouldn't have to do it through like Parsec or anything like that. Like, we can just actually play it. And to see it be yet another game that's going to go down as a massive disappointment. Like, it reminds me of the GTA collection. Like, apparently that's been fixed up recently. It was GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas that they remastered, which
but it's not
really.
They just upscaled with AI.
Yeah, it was an absolute disaster at launch. They were memed to death for the rain effect. That was literally, it just looked like a PNG that was just constantly cycling from the top of the screen to the bottom. And unfortunately, this Battlefront thing seems to be the same thing, and it's just kind of another sad sign of a trend, right?
Yeah, they're all like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but all they're doing is nostalgia farming. That's all they're doing. They're hoping, all right, millennials and shit, they love nostalgia. They got money now. They're all in the working class. We're just gonna keep farming their nostalgia. That's them. They're in a fucking field, and we're all planted there, our heads above the soil, barely above the soil, because so many people live in paycheck to paycheck, and they want us to give what the hard-earned little money that we all have to get the nostalgia fix. And then it's literally worse than the originals in a lot of ways. It's like all you can do is play online, and that barely works any of the time. You didn't update anything. Like, there's no new options. In fact, they took away options. You can't invert your fucking look anymore. That was a thing in the base game. How do you take away features from the base game and not add any? Like, not adding any is bad enough. Like, you should at least add some more customization options, like for some of the offline modes, like Galactic Conquest. Maybe I want one where all the battles are long. Let me increase the reinforcement count. No, we're actually just going to take away options from you.
What the hell?
Sid, you play sports games. You're used to that. Come on.
But Sid, do you remember? Back in the day, Star Wars?
Remember Chewbacca?
I am used to like it happening in sports games. I just don't want it to happen to those things that are near and dear to my heart. Like, I want a company who actually cares about something to come back and try to make something like cool or add things that people want. Think about all the feedback to Battlefront 1 and 2, the reboots. People are like, where's Galactic Conquest? Where's Galactic Conquest? Oh, the second one. Oh, we have a story mode. Where's Galactic Conquest? And Aspire Media couldn't look at all that and be like, hey, maybe we should do a little bit of work instead of putting it through an AI machine and add some things that people want. The way this thing actually has replayability. I hope they're getting kicked in the ass with refunds right now. And I hope I get mine.
You know who owns Aspire Group? Embracer Group.
I don't know who that is.
Embracer Group is basically the company that buys every single game studio and gives them the squeeze of death. Once you're basically acquired by Embracer Group, you are basically on death row. The amount of studios owned by Embracer Group that have closed within the past 3 months, I'll say it this way. There have been more layoffs from Embracer Group companies either being sold or having to go independent in the past 3 months than the entirety of layoffs in the last year. So in all 2023, there have been more layoffs in the past 4 months than there have been in 2023. It's ridiculous. Like, gaming's hitting a bubble, and the bubble's popping. and development costs are too high. Money's being thrown around different places. It's all about reallocating funds. Like the development team who made Saints Row, they're gone. They're just gone now. Like Volition got shut down. It's crazy when you look at it that way.
Yeah, they Embracer Group's Wikipedia page is fun because well, not fun, but they have a section listing the subsidiaries that they have, which includes like THQ Nordic and people like that, Deep Silver, who are known for making.
I remember Deep Silver.
God, what was the name of the fucking zombie game?
I don't know, but they made Homefront
Dead
Revolution,
Island.
which was a fantastic
Dead
game,
Island.
but that was another game that was fucked on release. I think that was Deep Silver who made Homefront Revolution, which was a great game. But in the beginning, when it first launched and when I first got it, the game wouldn't save.
Yeah. Sucker Punch Games, also Embracer Group acquisition. They own a lot of stuff.
They now have a list of 9 studios since 2019 that they have either divested or outright closed in just the last 5 years alone, including this month, Saber Interactive, who they acquired just a few years ago. They were known primarily for quite a few different games. They did the Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition on 360 back in the day. They, maybe not the craziest studio in the world, but still, it's another example of like, hey, we're gonna buy the studio, and you're out of a job. See you later.
Yeah. Another one is Toys for Bob. They were in development for a long time. They worked on the Spyro Reimagined, Crash Bandicoot remasters, and all that. They went independent because they were going to get the tight squeeze from Activision, so they bought themselves out of their contract. And yeah, like right now, if you are a game developer, it is a scary time because there are so many layoffs happening. There are a bunch of layouts with Microsoft, and then they had a presser like about like a week after being like, well, the future of Microsoft is like, we got one more console coming out, and wow, look, we migrated everyone over to having Game Pass Core and Game Pass Ultimate, so our numbers for people with Game Pass went up. It's like, yeah, you just reassigned everyone, gave them a different title. Like if we had a gaming podcast, I could just go off completely on all this stuff because it is a rough time.
I couldn't because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I just like playing games and I like having fun and I like,
don't look behind the curtain. Do not look behind the curtain.
I don't plan to because I know it's going to depress me.
Oh man, it makes so much sense when you realize like why things are the way they are and why consumers are getting pissed because of quality of games, and it's TLDR, just a lot of mismanagement. And then when you try to manage everything, you realize, oh shit, we need a bigger budget. Then you don't get a bigger budget, and then rinse and repeat.
You know who never pays for it is the people at the top.
No, they get all the good stuff.
They get all the bonuses and all the money and all the workers and everyone get fucked.
Exactly.
Correct. So, thank you for listening to our hockey podcast. But yeah, just I knew that was going to be a fun little warm up discussion, and like I said, it is good to be back now that I can speak for more than 3 seconds without feeling like I'm going to die. So that's a fun time. And yeah, hey, video games. You try to have fun where you can. MLB The Show came out last night. We started up a franchise on that. Got to bring back these bad boys for Road to the Show.
Yeah, I still need to get some of those. If I'm going to play that.
Your control-free condom slots. Let's go, baby.
Hell
your cock rings. That's what it was, the cock rings.
Surprised you forgot what you would deem them, but
the cock rings. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm I don't know, like I'm excited for MLB even though it's a yearly sports game, but to that same point, it's like you have the yearly sports titles that are like, hey, how don't we have this that we used to have?
Is it on Game Pass again?
Yes, it will be. It's not. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not out yet on Game Pass, but it is going to be. So it's
when does it come out?
19th.
Yeah. Oh fuck yeah! I'm just gonna wait. Like it's not. I'm not known for that.
Yeah, if you pay $40 now, you get it plus a bunch of pre-order bonuses and everything.
Don't care.
If you're on
play
Game
Road
Pass,
to the Show.
There you
That's
go.
all I
Yeah.
play. I don't even play franchise on that.
Dude, I just play home run derby. That's all I do. Literally, I just have streams of just me playing home run derby.
My name is Endo, and I hit dingers.
I'm Big Al, and I hit dingers.
Basically.
It's gone.
Yeah, very very well recommend waiting for that. But God, yeah, I don't know. I'm too busy wrapped up in sports games and what the hell they're gonna have. Not that I wasn't looking forward to Star Wars, but hey, it is what it is. We'll have to Parsec Pals it one night and relive the glory days. You know?
Yeah, all it needs. Yeah, it'll be like split screen, which does kind of suck. But
yeah, well, that's the problem.
There's no other way.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for ruining another good thing. Capitalism,
Obama,
you bitch. Anyway,
Obama.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss after our little bit of time away?
Nah, let's
get into
viewer
some viewer questions.
Let's get into some viewer questions. Move this thing along.
There you go. So the first one comes from One Cynical Blues. This might spark a debate. It probably won't, but let's see. What is the most overrated AC/DC song?
Thunderstruck.
All of them.
I'm with Sin on this.
Yeah.
I think it's all of them. I grew up listening to a good amount of AC/DC. My dad's a relatively big fan. Month or so ago, my wife and I were playing through all the old rock bands, at least most of them that I could find. We were both always more into Guitar Hero than Rock Band, but we played through all the Guitar Heroes. So I'm like, fuck it, for Christmas, rock bands. And we played through what was essentially a big track pack for AC/DC.
Dude, I had that. I had that. It was like, oh, sweet, AC/DC. Then I'm like, I fucking hate this.
It was bad, man.
Yeah.
Like they are so guilty of almost every song sounding exactly the fucking same. It was,
Thunderstruck.
Especially when you play them all
This
back
looks
to
like
back.
a hokey pokey crowd.
I don't think there's too much discussion to have. I think, AC/DC's not for me.
So the best part about that track list is that was live and recorded from a tour they were going on at the time. So it was like an 18 track list of just the entire thing. I mean, you got a code and you got an actual copy of the game, so you could like put it into your Rock Band titles for the future. But you could just play the standalone disc. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And I don't know how long it can take fucking Rolling Thunder, Pour Rain, and just going off like 100%. Let it be rock. I'm like, I can't.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, you're not wrong. Like, that's what it is. It's good for meme quality, but
dude, Let There Be Rock is like an 8-minute song.
Not my thing.
Fucking
yeah.
Next question.
From AJ, what is one current fad or trend that you absolutely hate? Video games trying to capture nostalgia.
Yeah, let's just go with that. Because like when I'm thinking about the youth trends, I don't that doesn't bother me. I've never become
TikTok dancing in public.
I don't care. Like who the fuck cares? Like people get mad at that. Like what are you doing with your life? Like why do you care what other people are doing? If you're cringing at someone else's, you're like, insecure.
No. For me, it's not even that. It's going to a concert, and then the one song that this band is known for, like from TikTok, goes viral. People pay attention. They're all on their phones when the song's playing, and then when the song's gone, they're just not paying attention at all. They don't give a fuck. I'm like, that's like the worst.
Yeah, that's what people do, though. I mean,
yeah.
There were a few moments.
Yeah, not everyone's going to appreciate all the musicality. That's just how it goes. That's why pop music exists. It's not complicated. It's not tremendously amazing music, but it's simple, and that's what connects with the basic person.
Fucking normies.
There were a few moments, with me having been at TD Garden on Wednesday for another. Again, I went to a freaking AEW pay-per-view on the 3rd, and then a freaking TV taping on Wednesday. So yeah, I'm ready to be home, as I've said. But there were a few moments, and I have literally like pictures and videos of this on my phone, where like someone was making their way to the ring, and I could look like I'm the type for the most part where I'm just like, okay, I'm in the moment, I'm enjoying it, but then I'd look down, everybody's like this, just filming, and it's just like, man, who cares? Like, I take a few pictures and a few videos here and there for nostalgia's sake, but that's what people do nowadays. And I talked about this too on Twitter. When I was down in Greensboro for my flight home, I ran into numerous wrestlers in my terminal who were catching their flights back home. I didn't get pictures with any of them, though. There were a couple that I talked to, including a wrestler by the name of Wardlow. For 5 fucking minutes, I got to talk to this guy like a human being because we were both in line at Starbucks.
That's the best. Like, that's a better experience than having a picture with someone so you can show people.
The reason why I got to talk to him for 5 minutes, this big motherfucker ordered 3 dozen egg whites.
Hell yeah!
And they thought he was joking and only gave him a dozen. And he's like, no, I ordered 3. So I got extra time to talk to this guy before other people were like, it's him, and then ran over him like, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture? And I just kind of like, have a good day, and walked away.
Yeah.
Because that's just what you do. But yeah, so much of it now, whether or not it's running into someone at the fucking grocery store or the airport or going to these events, is what can I put up on social media instead of just being like, yeah, I was there and I enjoyed it. It's like people feel the sense of like, I need to prove I was there. Damn it. And it's like,
dude,
not really.
You could have just tweeted that story that Warlow ordered like fucking 3 dozen eggs. Fucking Gaston over here, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's like, all right, he told me about his lack of an ACL in one knee, his fucking hamstring injury in the other, and he ordered 3 dozen egg whites.
Too many leg drops, brother.
Total Chad. That's just
Total
Chad behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I only got one working knee. Give me some fucking egg whites.
Basically.
Give me all the whites, brother.
God. My actual answer for this question, by the way, what's a current trend or fad? It's not even necessarily current because people have always done this. Ever since there have been cameras to film, even if it's fucking camcorders back in the day. Fucking with people in public for the sake of content.
Oh.
That's still the number one for me, is anybody where it's like, it's just a prank bro culture and just fucking with people, or if, you know, it's at a fucking grocery store and making an employee's day there more difficult for the yucks, like that's the shit that's just like, you know, if someone's like fucking TikTok thing, it's kind of a similar thing to it's that and the people that film in a gym and they're doing their fucking poses instead of actually working out, and someone walks in front of the camera and they're like, can you believe how rude this person was? Yeah, it's a tie between those type of people and that type of content that fucking drives me insane. Man,
you a big fan of Joey Swole?
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so he's like the guy who, like, whenever like people have an issue with like people with the recording everything there, he's kind of like defending them in the way.
Okay,
he's
heard of him,
yeah, he's basically like the good guy in this situation where he's like, yeah, you can record and everything, but just, you know, be courteous and let people do their thing. If they're not doing anything wrong, like whatever, like that kind of thing. He seems like a pretty swole guy.
That's fair.
Swell and Swole.
Swell and Swole.
Yeah.
Just like Wardlow.
Wardlow.
Yeah, I'm with you. Any sort of like, I don't care about any trends as long as they're not like hurting others. That's me. So I'm with you, Tougie, on the whole. The prank culture has gone way too far. Like, like there's some where it's like in good taste and stuff like that. Another thing, one thing that I don't know how to feel about is the publicized doing good deeds. Like I gave this homeless guy a lottery card that was actually a winner, or I set it up with this guy and gave him a bunch of money and stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys were there was that one content creator who did that a long time ago and then ended up like putting the guy up in an apartment and stuff like that. And like, but then you learn that like he put him in an apartment, the lease is only under his name, the bank account that he gave him, like he tracks everything he purchases, and it's just like it's like, I don't know. If you're just doing a good thing, like just do it.
You don't like Jimmy Beast?
I
You
don't
don't
know.
like what Jimmy Beast and the beasting that he's done for people.
Not after I heard that fucking interview of him on the podcast where he considers dates to be a waste of money for him because he is all he's thinking about is the hours that he's spending at the date, and there are hours that he's not making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I mean he does give almost all of his money away, so
No, he gives a small fraction of it away, Endo.
he gives a lot of money
Sure,
away.
yeah, he gives money, but the fact of the matter is he's doing that to make money at the same time.
I mean, like,
It's-
how are you gonna give money? How are you gonna have money to give? You don't make money.
Well, see, that's the whole debate over this,
Yeah.
right? Is it exploitative on his part?
Yes.
Yes. Is he doing good with it? Yes. Is he doing it for the right reasons? Who the fuck
No.
knows? There was the whole thing where I think it was earlier this year. Because the only time I ever really hear about Mr. Beast is when I watch Philip DeFranco's weekly news show. Basically, like, he went into a Walmart after hearing, like, hey, a bunch of kids being like, I'm trying to get these, but they're not in this Walmart. So he went to this Walmart, discovered a bunch of them were in the back, and was like, yeah, can we get these put up outside to sell? So that was a whole conversation as to, like, trying to tell people to do their job for the sake of his product, but also, well, it's helping out the store because I don't know. I don't know where I side on that, because I certainly see Sin's point in regards to it's that conversation of, okay, are you doing it for the right reasons? Does it matter as long as people are getting the help? Like, I don't know.
I think to me it's just a symptom of a much larger problem. Is that he shouldn't be necessary. Mr. Beast should not be necessary in a functioning society.
Yep. 100%.
And
Yeah,
she should be a luxury and not something that people are desperate for.
Yeah.
And that's what rubs me the wrong way, is that he's using people's desperation for content. You can be altruistic and not get anything in return. Therefore, he is not truly altruistic, because that's his whole shtick, is to make money. And again, that's just that. And before I heard that podcast interview, I did think he was doing good things. But then when I hear that he considers dates with his girlfriend as wasted money, in the fact that he's not making what he could be, that fucking grind set mentality, like, that's just that. I don't think he's a good person because of that. Like, you can't have that mindset. You're missing out on life.
I can't disagree. I can't. That's just going to continue to be a conversation surrounding that guy and people like that, where it's like, okay, reasons behind it and so on and so forth. Our next question from Hawks. What is one pro wrestling match that you think people should go and watch? Doesn't have to be your favorite, but one match that you think people should see. So originally when I read this, and now obviously Sin won't have an answer for this, but
No.
as I read this, it was my thought of almost like the question of, if you had to show a non-wrestling fan a match that you think would get somebody into it, or they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm not into it, but I can see why people like it, what would that match be? And I can't have an answer for Endo, because Endo's already a wrestling fan, right?
Yeah.
Like, he is. Sin at least gets a laugh out of wrestling meme culture.
Yes.
And I understand certain references, like, you have a great appreciation, as do Endo and I, for Macho Man Randy Savage dragons and Skyrim. Like,
I also have a great appreciation for the wrestlers themselves. Like, I love listening to their interviews and listening to them talk shop about, like, wrestling and things like that. And I still would love Stone Cold to this day. Just like, yeah.
So it's tough for me to be like, okay, if I could show Sin one match to just be like,
the promos are great too. I could just watch all the promos, especially the funny ones. Who was that? Jay Lethal, when he was fucking just mocking
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair the whole time, and they were like two dogs back and forth barking, just woo, woo. He was doing the walk across the ring.
So
and you can tell the whole time Ric Flair was trying so hard not to break, because the impression was so fucking good.
See, I don't think I'd even have a difficult time with you to just be like, "Hey, check this out," and you'd be like, "Oh,
No.
okay, I get it," type of thing. So, God, I don't know, because like for the longest time, it depends on the person. That's my official answer, right? It depends on the person. When I met my wife, she hadn't watched a second of wrestling in her fucking life, and now since over the past 4+ years, she's gone to events and has had a great time. But, you know, she went to an event last June in Boston for AEW entitled Blood and Guts. That is something, obviously, she never thought she'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go watch this fucking spectacle of a weapons-based match. That obviously wasn't the type of match where I'd be like, hey, wrestling, check out Darby Allin trying to kill himself on a match-by-match basis.
Yeah.
You know, it was the... And actually, what got her to kind of pay attention a little bit was CM Punk's return, like initially to AEW when he first went there, and it was the promo. It was, you know, seeing just this guy and how he commanded a crowd of 15,000 people plus, and I'd be more likely to show somebody a promo over a match, and then then the match, it depends on the type of person. For some people, it would be Mick Foley, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, and the spectacle of that. For other people, it would be, okay, here's like this crazy athleticism or a match with even like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair's retirement match, just because of like the emotion behind that match could be a good one.
Sorry. Sweet chin music.
I'm sorry, I love you.
Yeah.
Man. It would be something crazy fucking athletic. You know, I went to Revolution earlier this month, and it was Will Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita, which was, in terms of like modern wrestling, athletic feats, it's tough to find something more, you know, exemplary of that style than that. So it depends on a lot of different factors. So I can't possibly name just one match, because that's wrestling. It is a variety show in and of itself. And for some people, it's going to be the story, the characters, the talking more than it's going to be about the in-ring side of things. And for others, they just want to watch this crazy athletic display of simulated combat, you know?
I love the South Park episode about wrestling, because the whole time it's just them talking, and then
that's not wrestling.
Yeah, and then Vince McMahon shows up and he's like, "These are the best wrestlers I've ever seen," and all they do the whole time is every time you think they're gonna fight, they just go into another talking thing. It's the best. It's such a good parody of wrestling.
And you took my job. He took his job. He took his job.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Our final question is hockey related.
Oh, let's go. That'll get us into the new thing.
I was going to say, is there anything else non-hockey related that somebody wanted to bring up before over half an hour into this we actually talk hockey on this hockey podcast?
Let's get the hockey in.
Someone asked me about my reaction to the creative Dragon Ball Z Akira Toriyama passing away.
Because are you an anime fan? Or they just assume that you are because you're black? I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying.
Is that worse than the jokes I made about the meme templates last week? I think it might be.
No, I think I've insinuated to liking anime before. Dragon Ball Z was a massive part of like my youth. You know, I didn't realize at the time that, you know, Dragon Ball, weirdly enough, it like instilled a bunch of stuff about like, you know, persevering and being there, and that one fucking fucker keeps wishing for fucking panties for the second Dragon Balls, because he can wish for anything he wants. He's like, I want panties, and he just gets panties. And he's like, even Shenron, like the dragon's like, why the fuck are you doing this? And he gets him his wish, and then the Dragon Balls just scatter all over again. But yeah, Akira Toriyama was very influential, not only for Dragon Ball Z, but also I think Dragon Quest as well. I think he had a hand in that as well too. So, his passing was very unfortunate. A lot of these manga artists, they work themselves to the bone because they always want to get as much projects as they can done as soon as possible. And these guys all pass away like in their like late 60s when they still have like tons of life left in them. So it's unfortunate. Everything that could be said about Akira Toriyama has already been said. So it's an unfortunate loss to manga and anime itself. Someone who's influential and could possibly could have had more ideas to go through. Hopefully they do stuff in his honor, and hopefully they fix the rollback in fucking Dragon Ball Fighters too. Because I swear to God, that shit's broken as hell. I can go off about that. I will not.
I was never a big anime fan or a Dragon Ball fan, but it's one of those things where you can't have grown up around nerd culture or with an interest in nerd culture and not have understood the importance of the Dragon Ball series.
Oh man, dude. It was like the first time it was the first time in a manga or in a writing of art that they talked about like spirits and stuff like that. It was the first time ever. It was that like influential. And he had a bunch of other stuff and all that, and controversies with Mr. Popo and all that stuff. It's great. I generally think Dragon Ball did have such a bit. It's had a massive cultural implication. You have like prime ministers and presidents of countries like honoring Akira Toriyama and mentioning Dragon Ball itself. Like Japanese sign language. Talk about Dragon Ball. It's the Kamehameha. It's the actual Kamehameha for sign language. That represents Dragon Ball. It's crazy. Like the amount of influence that series has had on the world. It's insane.
I will say my appreciation for Toriyama comes from his involvement in Chrono Trigger.
Hell yeah.
Having designed the characters for that. I mean, especially too, like, you it's so simple, but you will always be a legend in my mind for in a game about time travel, creating a character called Frog, who is a frog, but he's also a knight from the Middle Ages.
Nice.
Just for that. Just for the fact that you have a frog that carries a broadsword. Legend. That's all you needed to do. He could have left it at just that, and I would have been a fan. Let's get to that hockey question here. Comes from Bouncy. What do you hate the most about being a fan of your team? It can be anything from the team itself to the fans to the location. It can even be something as minute and inconsequential as I don't like the shade of blue that my team uses. Now, really, really quickly, because we do have a kind of subject to talk about.
Yeah, that's my least favorite thing.
Sin's least favorite thing about the San Jose Sharks right now. Well, I'll just read this from the San Jose Spotlight. Brandon Pho, I believe. San Jose Sharks sued for child sex abuse cover-up. Again, you can find the full article at sanjosespotlight.com. But a recently filed lawsuit claims that Shark Sports and Entertainment covered up a junior Sharks coach alleged grooming and sexual abuse of child hockey players.
Jesus.
That is going to be the serious answer for Sin.
Yes.
Because the details of this lawsuit and the allegations that are out there are horrific.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the one thing I could say, right, is because we've kind of talked about how repeated instances of stories like this coming out have kind of affected our fandom of hockey. The thing I'm excited about right now in regards to stories like this is that we're still hearing about stories like this. It honestly kind of felt like when the Kyle Beach story broke that it was just going to be like, all right, nope, we're never talking about stuff like this. Literally, Chicago, we're moving on. We're not talking about that. But you're still seeing stories like this being talked about. You're still seeing the Calgary Flames renounce the rights to a former draft pick after he was found guilty of rape in Finland. It still feels like progress is being made in regards to stories like this. But we didn't really have a great time to kind of bring up and acknowledge the fact that this was going on, other than to take this question and be like, well, here's the serious answer.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that particular story at all, but I figured that was our opportunity to at least kind of acknowledge it, you know?
No, yeah, I do have some thoughts on it, and it's pretty disgusting. Yeah, especially the whole cover-up part of things. I always thought that my organization would be not the ones to try to cover something up, address it, deal with it properly. And yet, yeah, this whole thing happens, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think is going to happen, just from an objective standpoint. This wasn't an NHL player, so we don't know what the NHL itself is going to do. It's still within the Sharks organization. They should and probably will face some sort of punishment. The precedent for which is, what, $2 million?
Yep.
But I expect that our organization is the one that's going to have the book thrown at them. That's just how I think, because the precedent doesn't matter with the NHL, and that now that this has happened once again in their league. So all the memes about, the Sharks are, they Macklin Celebrini, welcome to San Jose, here's a sexual assault thing, and that means we automatically get the first pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they take our pick away. And I wouldn't, oppose that. It sure fuck us over for a long, long time, but you don't cover shit up like this. You address it and you take care of it. And that's what pisses me off the most, is that this happened, in this Junior Sharks organization, which has been such a supposed great thing for our city and for hockey in general. And you have a fucking predator there, and then you try to cover it up. Like, did you learn nothing? Did you learn absolutely nothing from Chicago? Or maybe that's the problem, is that Chicago did what they did, faced minimal punishment, and some asshole executives decide, okay, well, maybe it costs us some money, but this is horrible. Just an absolutely horrible situation. And needs to get dealt with. It just sucks and pisses me off, and in a lot of things. Like, it's just depressing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I highly recommend everybody check out the the full article again on San Jose Spotlight from March 8th. But it does go into details of Junior Sharks players' parents complained to the organization that this guy was a creep. Quote, the program supervisor raised these concerns to management at least 5 to 10 times during the span of 5 years between 2018 and 2023. Those kind of institutional protections that always seem to be there. And it's not just a hockey thing, right? Like, we saw this at Penn State with that whole fucking controversy and all of that shit. The frustrating thing is that obviously this still happens, and that these people still have this era of protection, or like, oh, I can get away with this, no problem. The positive spin out of it is that you still have reporters who are like, no, I'm going to talk about this. Like, this is happening. Good. We're going to continue to shine a spotlight on this bullshit to try and get this.
I hope Rick Westhead starts to get in on this, because it needs to be brought to light, and he's the one I trust the most to do so.
Right. Absolutely. To kind of lighten the mood, do you have something just dumb about the Sharks where you're like, I fucking hate them for this?
You're gonna have to give me a chance to think on it. You guys go first with yours, and then I
can name one for the Sharks.
It's supposed to be your team.
Oh, I don't give a fuck.
Both.
All right, fine.
Oh yeah, your esports team is fucking clowning. By the way, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
your esports team is a bunch of fucking clowns.
Oh, those fucking guys! I can't believe how they got that. First of all, they weren't that good. And second of all, atrocious behavior from them.
Your top player is chirping someone because they're losing at GWC. Meanwhile, the reason why he's in Cancun and he's not playing GWC games because he lost his GWC games. And then you turn that into a whole entire thing where you're like, oh, wow, where is this guy? Oh, he's in Cancun? Oh, we're going to drop some merch or whatever.
I wonder how well they knew Aaron Fesh, because no one understood why because Entourage was in the running to become SJ Gaming. Why the hell didn't you go with Entourage? And their thing was apparently we like their potential more, especially for content creation. Fucking sucks. Entourage is at least funny.
Yeah, there's no branding at all on their. I like to talk about, we're gonna like grow the people as like content and stuff like that. None of the merch that they have for SJ Gaming has any of their players representing on there. And it's funny because one of the guys was like trying to chirp back and be like, "Oh wow, I got merch." It's like that's like me posting my merch at nomills.ca, by the way. I have some new designs over there, and being like, "Oh wow, but mine has my fucking name on it. What does yours have? Nothing. You get like 10 cents of the profits from that, and you can buy a hat that's bit in it from a crackhead in fucking San Diego Pier. Like what the fuck?
San Diego.
I don't know, man. I don't live there.
Clearly, San Diego is closer to Anaheim and LA than it is to San Jose.
Whatever. I meant San Jose.
Endo, what do you as a Leafs fan, try to pick one thing that you don't like about the Leafs?
I don't like how our fan base likes to victimize either a person or an entity.
Elaborate.
How do I explain this? Nick Kyprios is still going at Cal Dubas for shit that literally is not his fault. That's not even. It's not even. Yes, yeah. It just is insane. Every time I see a Sportsnet article, it's like, "Oh, Nick Kyprios." I'm like, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that shit. I ain't reading all that. Either good for you or sorry that it happened. Like I could not give a fuck.
So you're the Eric Carlson of this podcast, being like, they got nothing to talk about up there. I don't know if you guys saw that. He was asked about, so there's like rumors that you could go back to Ottawa, and he's like, yeah, the Canadian media's got nothing to talk about. Essentially, like, I'm not going
He's not wrong.
He's not.
Like, the Canadian media pumped the tires for the Sens after they got Giroux. It's like, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to take it next year. It's going to be amazing. And then this year happened. And everyone's like, oh, wow, we didn't plan to, we didn't try to plan the parade. It's like, I've receipts, man. Mark the thought. Jesus, psych, you thought. Christ. Oh.
My least favorite thing about the Boston Bruins is probably the fans. Some of them. I think we could all say that. Like, the worst part, there's a bad section of fan for any sports team. That's just just a thing. My least favorite part of the Boston Bruins is still how they thought they could get away with signing Mitch Miller. Let's not forget about that. I want to keep that out there as to
and then they swept the buyout underneath the table, just kind of like, oh, it's fine, not even a mutual agreement. It's like, oh, we're gonna buy him out, so he still gets all the money for his signing bonuses and all that. It's great. Yeah, you know that $7 water you bought at Big Business? Yeah, that's his contract money right there.
Sure is.
Yeah. How do you feel?
Sin, your least favorite thing about the Sharks?
Yeah, we keep trading with Vegas. That's probably my least favorite thing right now.
Well, let's oh god, we did have a couple other things to talk about, but we can get to those afterwards. Let's get to talking about the NHL Trade Deadline, because we haven't gotten to do that yet, and it's been a week now. And the dust has been able to settle a little bit. We're starting to see positives, negatives to these deals. I'm perfectly fine with starting with the San Jose Sharks, who have officially been eliminated from playoff contention, by the way. And right now currently lead the Tank Bowl for the number one odds in the draft lottery. They are 2 points behind Chicago, although the Sharks do have a game at hand. San Jose, in the month of March, they were busy. They were busy around the trade deadline. They moved Anthony Duclair and a 7th to Tampa for Jack Thompson and a 3rd. They bizarrely acquired Klim Kostin for Radim Shimmick and a 7th that went to Detroit.
I like that pick. It gets Shimmick's contract off the books. Yeah, he was in the AHL, but you never know. Like, Klim Kostin, you never know. Like, that's just another one of those wild card players. Like, yeah, he's probably a solid bottom sixer, but hey, look what Zetterlund did. He was playing, we thought he would be like a 3rd, 4th liner, but like he's been pretty decent middle sixer.
They moved Nikita Hotchuk, who was a part of the Timo Meier trade with New Jersey last year, to Calgary for a 5th-round pick.
That one I didn't like.
They gave a 7th to Buffalo for goaltender Devin Cooley. They moved Kaapo Kakkonen to New Jersey for Vitek Vanacek and a 7th. And then the big one. They acquired David Edstrom and a 1st-round pick in 2025 from the Vegas Golden Knights for 2/3 and Tomas Hertl on 17% retained salary over the next 6 years, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Sin, how are you feeling about the San Jose Sharks post-deadline?
Yeah, I posted a video with like my whole breakdown of what I thought that trade was, my feelings on it at the time. Now I have, there's a couple things I wish. I wished for their 2024 unprotected pick because they do have that. Instead, we get the 25 unprotected, which is fine. They probably wouldn't have given us the 24 unprotected simply because they're in the second wild card spot right now, and if something terrible happened, they want that pick to either trade it or draft someone so they can trade them because that's what's going to happen. So yeah, it's okay. Edstrom looking pretty decent. Again, he has a 32nd, so he's basically a 2nd rounder. I don't like it. If you're retaining 17% for that long, you better get more back. You didn't have to trade him right now at the deadline. There could have been a bigger market for him in the off season with more teams. And everyone just keeps helping Vegas. Yeah, it could work out. Maybe Vegas falls off a cliff in 25. Highly doubt it. And yeah, the thing that bothers me most about the retention, it's not the money amount. The length does kind of suck, but the fact of the matter is we now have 0 retention slots.
Correct.
And that is lasting through the entirety of next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's not great. Because now you can't be a broker for trades. You can't retain on like a 1-year deal at the deadline next season for someone. It really kind of limits you. That's the one thing that bothers me. The return is okay. That's a hard contract to move. Like Hertl is amazing. I think he's obviously a great player. Fact of the matter is he's a 60, 70 point guy. And he was making $8 million. That's not exactly that. He's also playing on 2 reconstructed knees. So you want to get out from under that contract for sure. Sucks to help Vegas in the process, but at the same time, eventually their luck will run out. Like we thought it would happen already. They keep finding ways, but eventually all this is going to catch up. If it catches up in that 25 season, tremendous for us. Look what's happening with Pittsburgh right now and their pick. They have to make a tough decision. Give us the pick if they're in the top 10, which they are right now. They're like, 6th or 7th worst? Actually, they just beat us, so they might have crept up a little bit more, but I like it. It sucks. Hertl was like the face of the franchise now, essentially, and he's gone now. And a lot of people were pissed about it. And, I get it. But at the same time, this is what it is. Hertl's not young anymore. He's 29 or 30. Like, holy crap. Time creeps up on you quick. And I think it's a smart move to get out from under the majority of that contract, especially considering the term and getting back assets that you need for this rebuild.
At least you'll have Logan Couture, who acknowledged that his contract is essentially untradeable.
I don't think we have Logan Couture anymore, man. I think he's going to retire. That injury that he has is brutal. I mean, he just keeps having setbacks after setbacks. It sucks.
Now, you mentioned Vegas, obviously, inherently there with the Sharks. Golden Knights are currently in the 2nd wildcard spot in the West. They are only 4 points above Minnesota with the game at hand. They went for it again at this deadline. They picked up Anthony Mantha from the Capitals for a 2nd and a 4th. They, of course, found a way to get Noah Hannafin in a 3-team trade involving Calgary and Philly, and then the Tomas Hertl deal. There are a lot of people rooting for the Vegas Golden Knights to miss the playoffs, obviously. Never say never based on this, the current standings and the situations. Obviously, there was a lot of talk with Vegas about, awfully convenient, the Mark Stone injury. And you had Kelly McCrimmon, the GM of the team, come out and say, like, to even insinuate that we're having players like fake it is ridiculous.
I don't think they're having them fake it. I think they're just making them wait longer to come back than they would need to.
And we had that conversation, right, in regards to what used to be versus what it is now. And it used to be that players would just go and they'd get to the playoffs and they'd be dead. And you'd be like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And then the injury list would come out and it'd be like, oh, he shouldn't have been walking, let alone playing a professional hockey game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, because this LTIR loophole was left wide open in the aftermath of other franchises taking advantage of it, Vegas said, all right, bet. We're going to exploit it better than anybody else. So now it is Mark Stone, go get the rest that you need and come back for the playoffs. And because of the salary cap situation and how it's different in the playoffs, yeah, we can go out and benefit not only from you getting healthy, but from getting the help that can still see us probably make the playoffs. So, yeah, I don't think it's a matter of people thinking Mark Stone isn't actually hurt, but it is a matter of them taking advantage of it. And yeah, Mark Stone might be good to go with 2 weeks left to go in the season, but you can kind of be like, no, he's not. And that's the thing people probably have an issue with. But at the same time, prove it. Yeah. And right now, the insulation and the protection is there from Vegas to be like, no, he's still not 100%, so we're going to keep him out.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. I want to talk about Toronto as well. I know Endo is currently shoving a bagel down his throat, which is okay. But the Toronto Maple Leafs, currently 3rd in the Atlantic. A lot of talk about them and what they did and didn't do at the deadline, because their moves were acquiring Ilya Lyubushkin,
atrocious,
Joel Edmondson, NCAA prospect Cade Weber, and Connor DeWar from Minnesota.
Big Dick D, let's go.
This does not read like a team that feels like this is our chance, let's go for it.
Which is dumb.
I mentioned this before I got cut off, and I lost all my audio.
Yeah.
Earlier in the beginning of the season, hopefully my power stays on this time. In the beginning of the season, there was doubt in the Leafs. There was an interview that I saw, that I read. There's an interview that I read. It was an article, and they basically said the lines of, they don't feel confident in this group to go all in. Hence why they still have their first this year.
Yeah.
This is going to be how far can this group take it in their process of going? They've got the skill. They've got all that. They've added some grit. I think getting two defensive defensemen, one who was statistically one of the worst defensive defensemen in the fucking league. No offense, Lyubushkin. You had a great run with the Leafs 2 years ago, but 2 years is a big difference. You have Edmondson, who I don't think he's played a single game with the Leafs. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I believe he hasn't played a game yet, so why did you grab him? And then you have Cale Dewar, who has like the most blocks. He's played 2 games. He's 2 games, and it's been how many? It's been like a week.
I mean, they
had him before the deadline too. And then Cale Dewar, who has the most blocked shots out of any defenseman, but he's just big.
He's a center.
No. What?
DeWar is a center, dog.
He's a center?
Oh my god. All right, I'll take over the Leafs chat since I know more about your team than you do.
He's like 6'8", he's a center.
Yeah, so
no, he's not even 6'8". Who the hell are you thinking of?
They picked up a defenseman.
Cade Weber.
Hold on.
Who's still in the NCAA.
Yeah, Cade Weber.
He's huge.
Cade Weber. Okay, he's fucking huge. He's massive. That boy is fucking...
He's in the
that's
NCAA.
What I was talking about. Dewar, yeah. He is huge. He can't fucking skate.
Tangibles.
He can't fucking skate, though. Yes. Tangibles. He's a big guy. He has the most block shots out of anyone in the league. Apparently, he can't fucking play defense, but he just blocks a bunch of shots. That's what people have been saying. It's like, oh, we could build him into a second line AHLer, or the guy who just goes out and tries to break Giordano's block shot record.
So what you're saying is Brad Treliving has a type.
Yes.
They were really
Big.
bad moves, though, considering that now you have to scratch Simone Benoit. And then you lost Lagesson to waivers for the sole purpose of keeping a right-handed shot in the lineup who probably should have been the one who got scratched. So there's a, once again, complete disconnect from the coach to upper management. And the coach needing certain things and upper management, mostly Brendan Shanahan at this point. Like, I'm not going to put everything on Treliving's feet because he was put in a no-win situation.
Yeah, it's his
And then,
first year,
surprise, he didn't win. So, yeah, here's the thing that perplexes me the most. You gave up like 6 draft picks to get those guys. Why was that okay to do? And why is your first off limits? Like, this is a problem with Toronto. Is number one, they fall in love with their prospects, especially the fans. And number two, they're not willing to go all in when you have 3 incredible players in their prime and another 4th one who's making 11 million. Like, so
you know what's even worse, man?
So
Sorry,
their cap situation with the forwards.
It's fucked.
So right now, on Cap Friendly, they have 15 forwards listed, making 59.7 million confirmed.
That's fucked.
Next year's salary is already at 55.5, and that is losing the 8.5 million combined of Bertuzzi and Domi, because you have Austin Matthews going from 11.6 to 13 and a quarter. You have William Nylander going from 6.9, nice, to 11.5.
overpay also.
Oh my god.
We look at the success of the Vegas Golden Knights and we say, like, Jesus, they can't keep getting away with it. The Leafs, I might be wrong. We might be wrong. Who's to say? But do you really envision Joel Edmondson and Ilya Lyubushkin being the missing pieces for this team to make it past Boston, Florida, the New York Rangers, the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round?
They're not.
Nope.
I mean, you sacrificed people. Like, you could cost you 6 draft picks and a depth defenseman. And what did you get? 2 depth defensemen.
Yep.
Nicholas Robertson is still a fucking Leaf.
So is Fraser Minton.
Trade him. Trade fucking Fraser Minton. Do something with Easton Cowan, because he's apparently going to be a fucking great player who's going to have no fucking room. The big problem
Trade
here
him
is
to the Sharks, a la Barabanov.
Oh yeah, give him that's a free pass to get a better career.
Do right by the players, Endo. Come on, give them all to San Jose.
Oh man, dude, honestly, fucking, I don't even know, man, anymore.
That's okay, because I do.
Yeah. Like it's just just fucking annoying, man. Like there's just so many incompetent moves because it's like if you're gonna go for it. Like the reigning Stanley Cup champions just pulled off a bunch of fucking crazy trades at the trade deadline and said, you know what, we're in this.
That's the difference.
They got Hannafin. That's a team that wants to win. We talk about the Vegas high rollers. That team is going to be always going to be in a win now fallacy, and that's going to shake up the league. And it should shake up the league, but no one wants to do anything about it. They're just going to let Vegas get away with LTIR stuff and perfect cap management. I fucking wish the Leafs did that.
That's the craziest thing to me is that Vegas in a second wildcard position is more willing to go all in than the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are third in the Atlantic Division. That's horrendous misunderstanding of the situation by Leafs management, from president to GM to everyone. And you can tell because, it's Keefe scratches Simone Benoit, which is probably that's their 5th or 6th defenseman, period. Like, he's better than Giordano. He's arguably as good as Brody. And you scratch him because you need Mr. Right Shot Timothy Liljegren in the lineup just because he's a right shot. Like, this is giving memories of like Mike Babcock and his disgust with the management. He was like, just give me someone who could play right, give me someone who could shoot right. Like, and I feel like like poor Sheldon Keefe is like screaming with these actions up at management to be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why weren't the Leafs in on Noah Hanifin? Why?
The price was too high for Chris Tanev.
Like, it's it's absolutely stupid. If you have Matthews, Nylander, Marner under contract, you should be going for it every year, because now, like I said in the last episode, is they're now stuck in a situation where you have to essentially take a year off next year until Tavares comes off of that 11 mil. And then the whole plan is what? He's going to take less money. Why? No one else there has taken less money. Why should he? He already took less money to come to Toronto initially. He left $2 million per year on the table to two other teams.
Send them back to the Islanders. Send them back there. Have him play there. Like,
they don't need
him. Where's he gonna play? Because Toronto's gonna be like, we want to have him because he's a good local homeboy, and have him back here. And he wore pajamas with the Leaf logo on it. Pajamas. Do you remember pajamas? I remember pajamas. They were great. Bought those at fucking Honest Ed's. Yeah.
Is there a point to this one?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did want to say about the Leafs, though, it's like the frustration isn't just within Leafs Nation. It's from people on the outside looking in too, because it's like, Jesus Christ, shit or get off the pot already.
They're wasting this guy.
Commit to winning or don't.
Like, you have a guy who might hit 70 goals, and you're fucking like, we're going to keep our first. Are you kidding me?
The price
this isn't franchise mode, man. You can't have your cake and eat it.
And if there's any team that can afford, like, we always hear about, the Leafs have so much money. They're the richest team.
MLSE's got fucking bank, dude.
But they don't utilize it. They don't spend it. If Vegas can afford to be like, let's bring in this guy, we'll pay this guy, and this guy. That's that should be the Leafs. Like, the story should be the Leafs abusing LTIR, trying to force the league into changing to more of a soft cap, as Leafs fans have been dying for, so that MLSE, one of the richest freaking organizations that own a team, can utilize that money, and they win cup after cup after cup.
Hell yeah.
They're not even willing to game the system right now, even though there's a clear-cut example of someone doing it better and having won the fucking Stanley Cup last year.
You want to know why? MLSE is an entertainment business. Oh, okay, fine, fuck you. MLSE is an entertainment business. They make their money off of the games themselves. Why? They are the only arena in the NHL where
you make more money off games if you fucking played more playoff games, though, Endo.
No.
Yes,
you would. No. They won't.
That is a verifiable fact.
They don't think of it like that way. They don't care about. They don't care.
So they're
about
badly managed.
Oh yeah. You haven't noticed that?
No, because they just got a new guy coming in
with his crinkly fingers and just kind of
Shanahan's gone, by the way. That new guy that they brought in from, where the hell is he from? He worked like for some like phone company or some shit, but he has like I can't remember his name. He has a background in other sports business. Shit. Anyway, he just joined MLSE, and I think Shanahan is going to be gone soon.
The guy who's like the new CEO or whatever, president.
I think so. Yeah, the new
MLSE.
Either way, but I think he like was in base. No, I don't know where he was. I thought he worked for like some phone company or something before.
I believe he worked for Bell. I'll double check right now.
Yeah, so there should be a lot more people feeling the heat and making moves based on that. And Shanahan, again, I think he should be the main one feeling the heat, because they've gotten rid of a GM now. Because Shanahan made the executive decision not to trade Marner, because he knew Dubas was thinking about that, considering it before the clause kicked in, and he, axed that essentially in the best way that he could. But yeah,
all is well in Leafs land.
Oh, okay. So he has been the CEO of Rogers Media, team president of Toronto Argonauts, and the president of TSN. Oh, they brought him in?
Yes.
Oh, he's also president of the PGA European Tour. Oh,
yeah.
That's great.
So he knows about sports and how to run like leagues and etc. so forth. Like, he's a good guy to get brought in, and if the current group, including Shanahan, doesn't do the right things, like this to me was the death knell for Shanahan, and hopefully maybe even for Treliving too, is that you don't go all in when there's playoffs tickets on the line, when there's playoff concessions on the line, press boxes, all this other stuff. Like, yeah, it's the whole organization needs a complete overhaul, and hopefully that guy starts to do it for that organization and starts making them a lot more shrewd, because again, the Leafs just continue to be in this in-between situation where they can't figure out what kind of team that they are, and they're legitimately wasting 3 incredible talents and a generational goal scorer, the best goal scorer since Ovechkin, the one who is going to surpass Gretzky's record if Ovechkin doesn't, or he's going to surpass Ovechkin's record. There's right now no doubt in my mind, because he's now scoring at a higher rate than Ovechkin was.
And what a mustache.
I guess that's yeah.
No, I mean, it's the thing, right? Like, I think you and I, from the outside looking in, shared those frustrations. Like, even though I'm rooting for a team in the Boston Bruins that very much could end up going up against the Leafs, I'm still frustrated. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, the Bruins, their only 2 moves were Patrick Maroon and Andrew Peeke. That's it. It's not like the Bruins went for it either, compared to what I was hoping they would in terms of trying to make things happen, because, yeah, you should.
At least they didn't trade Ullmark.
They fucking tried, and I don't understand. I hope one day we learn who the hell what the return was going to be from Los Angeles.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
That's my fear, is that's who it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it wouldn't have been Fiala. It wouldn't have been Kemp, like maybe Philip Deno, which I would have been pumped about.
Yeah,
but
he's solid.
Like, that's all I can imagine. It's like, okay, who would I want from the Kings as a Bruins fan? I wouldn't even want Kevin Fiala for Allmark.
No.
Give me like Philip Deno plus or Adrian Kempe plus. They wouldn't give up Quentin Byfield.
No.
So it's just like, what the hell was that deal even going to be? I shudder.
Dano would have been such a good piece for the Bruins, but like, I don't think it's worth trading Ullmark right now. He's still got another year after this, right? So that's the time you trade him. Yeah. You keep running Swaymark.
Yeah. Ullmark's got 1 year left after this, and Swayman's an RFA at the end of the season. And literally, like, we've talked about this for years, because obviously you and I joked about, trade Swayman to the Sharks.
He's the future now.
Like, they're on rails. It's okay. You let go of Allmark now that he's on the wrong side of 30, and then you give Swayman the big money, and there you go. Like, there's almost no doubt in my mind at this point that Linus Allmark's going to be on a new team next season.
Yeah,
you keep him for this run, and then that's it. You move on from him, unless something
you kind of
drastic.
You have to sign. Yeah, you have to sign Swayman, and he's probably going to take that Allmark money.
Right, and especially too, like, if you're not going to utilize the strength of your team in the playoffs because you're stupid. Like, you have the ability to rotate, and you didn't fucking use it because nobody else does. You didn't utilize one of your fucking strengths last year, and you got embarrassed by the Florida Panthers. We'll see if they do it this year. Then there's no point in spending $8.5 million on 2 goaltenders if you're only going to have the one guy come playoff time anyway. So just have Swayman be the guy and spend that money elsewhere.
Yep.
There you go. Boston Bruins. I don't think too many Bruins or Leafs fans are overly happy with how things went for them.
A lot of Sharks fans are pissed about how the deadline went, but I understand the necessity for it. It hurts
because they helped Vegas.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the worst. The part that pisses him off the most is, like, Hurdle moving is almost stomachable, but the fact that he's on Vegas now and so many people are conflicted, like, we can't cheer for these guys now. Like, we can't cheer for Hurdle like 6 years on this team. Right. I might. I don't know. I'll feel really dirty though.
In terms of other teams, because obviously we can't go super in depth with every team because there's not that much to do, but I did want to go through. You have a team like the Anaheim Ducks who sold off some bits and pieces. They got a first round pick from Edmonton in a deal involving Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick. Good.
Which is really good.
Yeah. You're not a playoff team. You sold off some parts here and there. I mean, you
didn't panic and move Zegras. Good.
God, if they still do that, though, that doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't. Really doesn't. I don't know why he's like so universally like hated now and like chagrined by so many people.
The Michigans.
So weird. Who the fuck cares? It's good for the sport.
Old people.
Shut up, Torts. Torts didn't like rap music in the locker room. No one cares about his opinion.
There you go. Arizona, there were a lot of talks about them not getting enough back for some of their guys. Again, on the out,
look how much Dumba cost. Fucking nothing.
Yeah, so Dumba, Zucker, Stetcher, and 2 7ths out for a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th.
Terrible. Atrocious.
They did the right thing getting rid of pieces, but Jesus Christ, they got nothing back in return.
They also have no defensive core for next year. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah, not a serious team. I'm getting off of the bandwagon of the Arizona Coyotes and wanting them to be a success because management clearly doesn't fucking want them to be, and they still haven't figured out the arena deal, and they're honestly at this point an embarrassment. And their social media person did the fucking Batman thing. They didn't die a hero, and now they're the villain. They're just being annoying as shit on Twitter. And like, you can't keep talking shit when your team can't keep getting an arena deal done. Sorry. And I'm sorry to Deke, but at this point, I'm not saying move the team. I'm saying do fucking something. Get something done. It cannot be this hard. And you're embarrassing yourself in the league.
I think my favorite thing about the Yotes admin is that they had the audacity to tweet out rent free, and everyone went, "You don't pay your fucking bills." And in the same week, 2 of their players, I think it was Logan Cooley and someone else, didn't pay their utility bill, so they lost hydro. And they're like, "Oh, why don't we have any water?" Oh shoot! And everyone's like, "It's a culture." They associate there, just not paying your bills. And
I was looking at the Coyotes defensemen that are under contract for next year. Now, I'm not including RFAs. I'm only including people who are actually under contract next year. 20-year-old Maverick Lamoureux, 21-year-old prospect Maximilian Zuber, 24-year-old AHL defenseman Montana Onyebuchi.
What a name.
Sharks legend.
Great name. Face puncher.
Mm-hmm.
And Shea Weber, boy. Shea Weber still under contract, boy. LTIR.
He's their like highest paid player. Or defenseman at least.
Second highest paid player.
Oh, Keller beats him. Okay, but he's the highest paid defenseman.
No, Keller doesn't even beat him.
Oh God, who is it? Is it Datsuk still? No.
Close, Jake Voracek.
Oh my God. Wow.
Jake is the
sorry. This is not a professional team.
Yeah.
Oops, all cap whales. Oh boy.
God damn it.
God.
The Buffalo Sabres. I do want to talk about them because they are a story out of nowhere. They are now only 3 points back of the second wildcard spot. Granted, they're on 67 games played. The Islanders are on 65, but they have been making a really strong push as of late, and it's behind some interesting moves at the deadline. Again, they fetched a 7th round pick from the Sharks for Devin Cooley. They got a 4th round pick for Eric Johnson from Philly, or to Philly. They sent Kyle Okposo to the Florida Panthers for absolutely fucking nothing. Like Kylie Shaline and a 7th, a conditional 7th. It could be a 5th if the Panthers win the cup. But the biggest deal was the 1-for-1 sending Casey Middlestat to Colorado for Bowen Byram. Byram has been outstanding since coming to the Sabres. He has 5 points in 4 games.
Makes sense because he's getting the ice time.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Like, he's not behind that top pairing of Taves and Makar. He's getting a chance to kind of be the guy. Cap Friendly has their depth chart as him playing alongside Rasmus Dahlin. And holy shit, wouldn't you know it, that's working out really well. Maybe, just maybe, the streak is finally over for Jeff Skinner, and the guy's going to get to play in a goddamn playoff game now that he's 31 years old.
I hope they make it, man. I hope they're somehow able to squeak in because Detroit is right now, and it's a big part to do with Larkin's injury. And motherfucker, that injury might cost me round 1 in the playoffs in my fantasy league. Oh, it's been a close matchup. That and Vegas not winning and getting good goaltending. I picked up the 2 goaltenders because I thought it was guaranteed win. Anyway,
you sound like comic book guy from The Simpsons.
I don't even know who that is. I don't even know who that is. I did want to talk a little bit since we mentioned the Avalanche. Can we hop over to them for the deadline?
Yeah,
because I wanted to, the move moving out Ryan Johansson, obviously, to bring in Casey Middlestat. That's the linchpin essentially for all their moves at the deadline to be possible. But there's so much subtext when it comes to the Ryan Johansson trade. Do you guys remember the Devon Taves interview where he said, I think some of the guys in this room think they're playing well and we're not playing good enough? Do you guys remember that at all? He was essentially calling out Ryan Johansson. There was apparently a large rift in the locker room and it all was centered around Ryan Johansson. Other funny subtext is Philly acquired him, immediately waived him.
Yeah.
He has the same agent as Cutter Gauthier. And this was quote unquote from, I think, someone interviewed Philly and they're like, yeah, this is in part due to the personal relationship with the shared agent, the Cutter Gauthier and Ryan Johansson.
I'm surprised.
Crazy drama behind the scenes involving these trades.
So, and really quickly, I want to make note with that situation too. The Flyers essentially have been stated, like Ryan Johansson apparently has a hip injury that the Flyers have since claimed that they were not aware of once this deal happened.
Oh,
but to me, that almost sounds like that's their way of being like, that's why we have him in the minors. You can't claim that we're doing anything nefarious. But with Ryan Johansson, the crazy thing is,
if a player is injured, you can't send him down.
Well, I think that's a whole part of the thing is like, being like, well, we didn't know where you were hurt, but you're still in the minors, and there's this whole thing about it.
That's a PA violation. That violates the CPA.
Nobody cares about
if
that.
he didn't disclose it, that's on him and his agent.
Yeah,
damn.
With Ryan Johansson, the Nashville Predators not all that long ago kind of cleaned house. They got rid of Matt Duchene. They got rid of Ryan Johansson. And they were sitting there claiming that it was like a leadership issue, that the locker room culture wasn't right. They get rid of these guys. They bring in Ryan O'Reilly, and a lot of people are like, "What the hell are these guys doing?" But now you see how the Ryan Johansson experience went in Colorado. Matt Duchene, we haven't really heard anything. He seems to be a good fit in Dallas now that he's not the guy. But from the outside looking in, you can really only read this as Ryan Johansson has the tag of locker room cancer.
Yep.
Within hockey.
Yep. And he has an agent that no one likes.
Yeah, to the point where Philly brings him in, like you said. And again, the deal was for Colorado, they acquired Sean Walker and a 5th round pick from the Flyers for Ryan Johansson and a 1st round pick that is top 10 protected in 2025. So if Colorado somehow is a bottom 10 team, Philly will get their 2026 pick. But yeah, it's just the idea of Colorado said we need a shakeup here. Hence moving Curtis McDermott to New Jersey. The Middlestat for Byram trade. They bring in Brandon Duhaime from Minnesota, Yakov Trenin from Nashville, and move Ben Myers out to Anaheim. It feels like a power play from the leaders on that team, the Nathan McKinnons of the world, the Devon Taves, whoever else, to be like, this isn't fucking good enough. You
should have ate more fucking chickpeas, Johansson.
I like it though, from a contender like Colorado to recognize, okay, this isn't quite right. They were proactive in trying to fix the situation here because they'd love to win another Stanley Cup, obviously.
Absolutely.
You lock down Makar, you lock down McKinnon, your window's still very much open.
By the way, how underpaid is Makar? Whew. Good God. What
to piss off all Leafs fans. Here's the money. Cale Makar is making, for 3 more years after this, $9 million against the cap.
Unbelievable. And he's better than everyone besides Matthews.
Yeah.
On defense, too, they're only paying Devon Taves $4.1 million this year. It goes up to $7.25 next year.
That's still underpaid.
What?
Yes.
They're so good. Dude, Joe Sakic just whipped it out and plopped it on the ice.
For the forwards,
And
Mikko
cracked the
Rantanen.
ice.
Mikko Rantanen only has a contract through next year. He's making $9.25. And Nathan McKinnon's new deal, 8 years, 12.6, started this year. It wasn't that long ago, really. And it's been talked about a lot.
God.
Now, granted, their GM right now is Chris McFarland, who took over for Joe Sakic.
Ah, shit.
But it wasn't all that. Yeah.
Is he
But
president now or something?
Yes.
Okay,
He
yeah.
got promoted.
Oh, he's still
Okay.
there.
That's
still
the thing,
running
though,
it.
right?
Let's be honest.
People were talking about this team as like, oh God, the leadership. Do they know what the hell they're doing? What is Joe Sakic doing? That was a narrative not all that long ago, and now it's Joe Sakic's a fucking genius. Chris McFarland takes over to follow along. Very similar to what Tampa did with, Steve Yzerman moving on, but it's still his team that was finding success. Chris McFarland has to shake that off. He is the guy that signed Nathan McKinnon and Devon Taves to these extensions and stuff like that. So, he's very much had his fingerprints on this team at this point. But yeah, there's no denying. I think people are confident in not only the leadership on the ice, but off the ice as well. For
See
Colorado.
how quickly you can shift that narrative, Toronto? If you just do stuff, if you stop sitting on the fence like Humpty Dumpty, because you're going to have a great fall. And all the king's horses and all the king's men won't be able to put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
It's beautiful.
That's a good one.
You're goddamn right.
Just to breeze through some of the other teams, Calgary got rid of Noah Hannafin, got rid of Chris Tanev. Maybe not the craziest returns, but it was very obvious. Like, okay, it's time to move on from certain pieces.
At least we can stop listening to them hem and haw in the media about not moving anyone.
Yeah. 8 points out of a playoff spot for Calgary. You pretty much know what it's going to be this year. Carolina, who are very much in a playoff spot at the moment, second in the Metro, trying to compete with the New York Rangers for that top spot. And they went for it. They were involved with 2 deals for the Leafs, but the big moves, they go out and acquire Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh
replacement.
and Evgeny Kuznetsov from Washington. Kuznetsov on 50% retained, only cost a 3rd-round pick from the Caps, who were desperate to get rid of that contract. And, of course, picking up Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh. There was a lot of talk about the return. It was Gensel and Ty Smith, who's just kind of what he is. He's a 7-8 at this point. From Michael Bunting, Vasily Ponomarev, Cruz Lucius, Billy Koivunen, and 2 picks, both conditional. I don't think it's a bad return for Pittsburgh because I like Ponomarev a lot. And the other 2 prospects that we mentioned aren't that bad. We've seen what Michael Bunting can do. If you're Pittsburgh, who knows? Maybe they end up re-signing Jake Gensel, right? I don't think you can properly label that as like, okay, good deal, bad deal yet. For Carolina, though, they're showing that ambition. Interesting. We haven't talked about Florida and New York yet, but we've seen ambition from quite a few teams, and go figure, Carolina showing that ambition as a team that have cup aspirations tend to do. Toronto.
We got it.
Brutal. Chicago only made 1 deal. Anthony Beauvillier to Nashville for a 5th rounder.
They didn't have much to do. Let's be honest.
It just shows, what could you get for Tyler Johnson, Colin Blackwell, Zaitsev, Jared Tenorti?
And they've pretty much made their bed where, the veterans that they signed for more money than they should have for multiple years, they want them to stick there and be mentor roles. So, Chicago's just going to stand pat. They weren't the team to, be making major moves at this deadline. But Florida was.
Yeah, we're going to get to them in a second, too, because, Columbus, there's not much to talk about.
I thought I killed the segue right there.
You did. Fine. I was already on Columbus's page. They moved Jack Ross to New York. They didn't have much for expiring. Let's talk about Florida, then. I kind of viewed them as a bit of a main event because,
I thought we were getting to the main events. My bad.
They kind of went for it. They brought in Vladimir Tarasenko for pennies on the dollar because that's the only place he really wanted to go. So Ottawa was fucked. Yep. They acquired Kyle Okposo for nothing, and also pulled off a minor deal to bring in Magnus Hellberg as a depth goalie. But to bring in Tarasenko and Okposo for the middle six, maybe even a bottom six for if you have Kyle Okposo on your fourth line, you're fucking looking great. Florida's going for it again, and they get that depth that they kind of ran out of by the time they made it to the Stanley Cup final last year.
Yeah, and I like Tarasenko for them. He's a lot more than a goal scorer, as he's kind of listed as. Like, he's not really afraid to get into the dirty areas either. Tarasenko, I mean, think of him on the Blues, right? Like, he came from that sort of organization. I think he really fits with Florida's game. I think Okposo, he's more of a depth piece. I think there's a condition on the pick, like he has to play a certain amount of games. Yeah, he that's the only one that kind of makes me maybe a little bit nervous, is like, do you want to break up that amazing fourth line? Which is like, what is their fourth line? Cousins,
Panthers' fourth line at the moment, at least according to Cap Friendly, is Jonah Gadjevic, Sharks legend, Kevin Stenlund, and Ryan Lomberg. A lot of grit.
I guess Cousins is on the third.
Yeah, their third line is Cousins, Luotz-Torinen, and Okposo currently.
Okay. So, yeah, I was thinking of it because like their fourth line was pretty good. Yeah, okay. So that.
Yeah, and even just to read off the rest of their line, second line for Hagee, Lundell, Kachuk, top line of Tarasenko, Barkov, Reinhart, with Bennett and Evan Rodriguez both dealing with some injuries right now. So,
what an embarrassment of riches to have Kachuk on your second line.
Yeah, 74 points in 66 games.
Yeesh.
Second only to Sam Reinhart, who is a pending UFA. So Florida knows, oh fuck, we got to try to make something happen here. So, Dallas, they got their guy in Chris Tanev. That's about all that they did. Second place currently in the Central, very much in the mix with Colorado, Winnipeg. Could they have done more? Maybe not, but they at least did something. Detroit's only move was the Klim Kostin Shimmick swap, which is, it kind of shows that, like, okay, like the Larkin injury, we're not really sure where we're going to be, what we're going to do.
Yeah, they can't go all in. I think it's a smart move.
But I still, like, if I'm a Red Wings fan and I see them kind of plummeting right now, I'm like, God, look at some of the low prices for some of these guys. Could we have done something? Yeah,
but I think the Red Wings fans are pretty rational with what they are. Yeah. It's like they were happy how they started the season off, but they was like, at the same time, it's like, yeah, maybe we overperformed. I think, the whole Larkin injury and then them tanking kind of, to me, reads like, okay, we might need maybe a deeper farm system, because what do we have to plug those holes? There's enough. They didn't have enough to they're essentially bail. They're having to bail instead of being able to plug the leaks. So yeah.
Edmonton finally did something. They actually got some depth at the deadline. We talked about the Henrique and Carrick pickups. They got Troy Stetcher from Arizona. So good on Edmonton for actually. It's not the crazy amount of ambition. I really like Adam Henrique, but at least they're trying to not waste Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. That's a very novel.
They're doing concept. More than Toronto now, which we didn't think would ever say.
Kill me, dude.
The LA Kings did absolutely nothing. A little bit surprised. They're kind of in that Red Wings situation, except they're still in a playoff spot. I think, you kind of look at them. It's like, well, we don't want to sell because clearly we showed earlier we were good enough to actually do something. But we also don't want to buy because, we might not have the roster that we need. And like I said, you can pretty much go down the list of most teams and like, okay, you can kind of give that general grade. Like Minnesota, they didn't do much, but they probably weren't likely to do much given that they're currently on the outside looking in. Montreal didn't do much. They got a pick for Jake Allen. Cool. They didn't really have too much else to get rid of. Nashville, strangely kind of bought, but also they're currently in the top wildcard spot in the West. So I kind of respect Nashville being like, we're just going to hang around and see what happens. The Devils obviously sold a little bit. The Islanders did absolutely nothing. I think it was the fourth straight year that Lou Lamoriello has done nothing at the trade deadline, which is fucking hilarious because that's the most Lou thing ever. Talked about Ottawa not really doing that much. I mean, like I said, we can pretty much go through every team here, but the only two teams I think that really stand out to me now that we haven't really talked about yet, aside from Seattle trading Wenberg to New York, the Rangers are one of those two teams alongside the Pittsburgh Penguins that I wanted to talk about. Endo, your thoughts on the Jágr bobblehead heist? Because that is the only talk about Pittsburgh right now. They get rid of Jake Gensel. They're 25th in the league. Like, everything right now for the Pittsburgh Penguins looks terrible, and it is only further encapsulated by this bobblehead controversy. Endo, your thoughts?
I think it's funny. I think it's absolutely great how literally nothing in Pittsburgh can go right now. Whether it's a giant work or whether it's a work or a shoot, I don't really care. The idea of I think the idea of the bobbleheads just kind of not going to Pittsburgh, but imagine if they all go to different teams that he's played on, would be hilarious. I even replied and said, have you asked the traveling Jágrs where they are? They probably might know. They have all the shipment or whatever. They took it and had to take it from them. That'd be a god tier social media post and narrative that the traveling Jágrs took it from them.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Zin, any thoughts on the Jágr bobblehead heist as the Penguins just continue to go down in flames?
No, I just would like to celebrate one more time that the Penguins are in a rough spot with which pick that they're going to give the Sharks.
A reminder for those who have somehow forgotten.
Yeah, how could you? I mention it every chance I get.
August 6th, 2023. Jeff Petrie, Casey DeSmith, Nathan Legare, and a second to Montreal. To San Jose, Mike Hoffman, Mikhail Granlund, Jan Ruda, and a conditional first. And Pittsburgh get Erik Karlsson, Dylan Hamiluk, a third, and Rem Pitlick. It is a top 10 protected pick for the Penguins this year. So we'll see what happens. If they currently stay where they are, they would be bottom 10 and keep that pick. But, man, that 2025 season might be even worse for Pittsburgh.
They can decide. But, they're going to decide after the lottery. So, yeah. It's hey, we moved up, we're keeping it. But then they could be worse next year. I don't know if they will be, but, yeah.
The last team I wanted to talk about was the New York Rangers, and not even necessarily for the moves that they made at the deadline. The talk about the New York Rangers right now is almost the talk of the entire NHL, and that is one player, Matt Rempe, who has picked up a 4-game suspension for elbowing Jonas Siegenthaler of the New Jersey Devils in the head. It is not often that a 21-year-old former 6th-round pick with a career high of 31 points becomes the talk of the NHL, but he has. And it's because he's I can only describe it as this. He has taken to the NHL with all of the excitement of a dog that realizes you've taken it to the park. That is all he has done, is just run around like a madman since debuting during the Stadium Series game against the Islanders. He got in a fight with Matt Martin nearly instantly after having 7 fights in 43 games with the Hartford Wolfpack. So it wasn't really surprising to see him fight. And he only played 4 minutes and 26 seconds of that game. But he followed that up with 5 minutes of playing time against Dallas, which was pretty quiet. So it's all right, maybe things won't be too crazy. And then February 22nd, the game against the New Jersey Devils, he racked up 17 minutes worth of penalties and 13 seconds of ice time for braining Nathan Bastian. We'll come back to the Devils. But that was really kind of the moment where, oh man, Rempe mania, is it a thing? And if it wasn't before that, it was 2 days after he brained Nathan Bastian, because on February 24th, the day that I turned 30, he went to war, an absolute slugfest with the Flyers forward Nick Delorier. And that was when people were like, this guy's insane. But as soon as that hype level picked up, it basically stopped, because the very next day, he got obliterated by Matthew Olivier on the Blue Jackets, resulting in an all-time shiner. And then all of a sudden, the narrative changed from this guy being like, yeah, violent gentleman, make hockey violent again. He fights all the time. What a throwback. He's sick. So all of a sudden, the narrative was, oh, this kid's gonna get CTE in record time. Like, the narrative completely flipped. And since then, he has only fought once. He fought Ryan Reeves on March 2nd. And it felt like you kind of got the vocalized concerns that turned into like instruction for Rempe. Because he, all of a sudden, he wasn't fighting as much. He was turning down fights. Until this game against New Jersey earlier this week, where Curtis McDermott, who we mentioned before, recently acquired by the Devils, was going after Matt Rempe, trying to get revenge for the Nathan Bastian hit from previous weeks ago. Rempe not only turned down those fights, but then absolutely brained Jonas Siegenthaler and essentially taunted McDermott, who was on the bench as Rempe got kicked out of the game.
Yep.
You had McDermott calling him out, talking essentially about the code and all of this, and you can't do that. It's a young guy who doesn't get it. Matt Rempe has essentially single-handedly brought back the enforcer, goon, whatever you want to call it, debate.
Yep.
The night this had happened, I put it out on Twitter, like, I blame the NHL for this because of their half-pregnant approach to, like, physicality in the league. We've seen that for a long time now. They want to hype up the physicality of the sport, but they don't. The reason they don't is because in 2018, they had to settle a lawsuit against former players based around concussions and CTE, and they had to settle for nearly $18.5 million to former players. They love to talk about the physicality of it, but they don't want to talk about it too much because they want to continue to decry that connection between their league, their sport, and CTE. So because of this kind of situation with Rempe, and I know I'm going on a whole spiel here, cut me off at any time, you end up with a player like Matt Rempe, one of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dudes, potentially, of people past and present who would do anything to live their dream of being an NHL player. Hence the fighting, hence the checking. Even if you know the consequences, well, to hell with the consequences, I'm living my dream. So he enters the league, fights like hell, only to be told, calm it down a bit. So what the hell is he supposed to do? Like, he likely doesn't have the fully developed toolbox to stick around in the league otherwise. He is there because of the physicality. So you tell him not to fight. The only thing that he can do to provide that grit and that sandpaper that people always talk about is run around and hit people and try too hard to hit people, which leads to bad hits like the Siegenthaler hit or the Bastian hit. He obviously has, Rempe does, personal responsibility. But at the same time, I feel bad for the guy because the NHL needs to decide, are we in a league, are we a league with goons and enforcers? Yes or no? Because if yes, there can't be this pearl clutching over Matt Rempe if he fights twice in 2 nights. He's doing his job at that point. You just got to leave it for what it is. And if no, then you need to make that clear because someone like Rempe probably wouldn't have gotten a chance with the Rangers yet, because he wouldn't have been able to sandpaper his way there. The NHL needs to make a fucking decision over what this league fully is at this point. And I feel like Matt Rempe and the whole kind of story of what his season's been perfectly encapsulates that. I don't know what the answer is. I just want an answer from the NHL of, okay, what the hell is your sport? And if I am going to watch your league, I need to know whether or not I need to be comfortable with the idea of a 21-year-old punching his way down the road to CTE. Because that's what Matt Rempe was doing. And they need to decide, is that a bug or a feature of this league?
Yeah, I just watched the, while you were talking towards the end there, watched the Rempe and Olivier fight. Holy crap. That's why knowing how to fight is much better than just pure size, because he got absolutely demolished in that fight. And honestly, after, like, that's crazy. But yeah, I agree. It's just that, like, the NHL right now is on the fence in a lot of ways when it comes to this, where it's like do we, how do we keep, I don't know. Like we don't know what their plan is because it doesn't seem like they have a plan. And yeah, for Rempe, I think you hit the nail on the head where it's like he doesn't have the tool set, so he feels like he has to do these things. He's got to just throw the body and fight. And if they're telling him to not fight as much, then he's going to have to be more reckless with the body, which led to that suspension and a really bad hit. And it's a dirty hit, and I'm tired of people trying to say, well, it's not a dirty hit, it's a bad hit. He's not a dirty player. I'm like, he is. Like, you're acting like this is the first time he's laced him up and played hockey. He knows to keep his fucking elbows down. It doesn't matter if it's just, he's new in the NHL. He's been playing hockey his whole life. You don't get to the NHL without playing hockey your whole life and knowing how to make a good hit.
Well, don't you like how that flips? And sorry, I know to cut you off, but don't you like how that flips when the conversation was, players need to learn how to protect themselves, and then someone's on the receiving end of a dirty hit. It's like, but it wasn't a dirty hit, though. It was just a bad hit. Like, you can't... That's a whole another aspect of this. Is the whole players need to learn how to protect themselves. Players need to know what type of fucking league they're playing in. Do you need to be prepared to be brained, because it is essentially a viable path in this league for someone to punch their way to a profession? Endo.
Yeah, I was gonna say about Rampe. I don't. It seems like almost every other game that he's played so far this season, there's been an issue with either a hit or having to fight. In the Leaf game, when he hit Lyubushkin in his first game, coming back to the Leafs after the trade, he didn't return after the second period, and then that's when the Reeves fight happened. And even when he was fighting Ryan Reeves, he looked like he didn't want any part of that fight at all whatsoever. I feel like at that point, it was like he knew that, one, he had to answer for himself because he injured a player, because it's part of, I guess, the code or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I don't think he legitimately wants to go out and fight every night. I feel like management has talked to him, and not even management, just the fucking doctors on his team have talked to him. I mean, at the end of the day, he is signing up to do these fights and signing up to do things to answer for certain things he's on the ice. And I think it is also a factor of, like you said, trying to stay in the lineup, because he isn't waiver eligible. So he can get sent down and up as much as he wants, as much as he wants to send him out for. So he wants to stay in the NHL. He'll do whatever he can to, stay there, make that big extra money, because the pay gap between the NHL and the AHL is pretty big.
It's essentially times 10. He makes $70,000 in the AHL, $775 in the NHL.
Exactly.
Gentlemen, with that, anything left to add about that particular discussion, or anything else that we talked about today?
I don't think so. This was a good episode. We got a good mix of stuff in there.
It was good to be back, everybody. We thank you very much for still caring enough to listen to our opinions on all sorts of things. We'll be back next week, obviously, too. Like, hey, we're getting closer to playoff time, so discussion's going to be playoffs. Discussions are going to be interesting as we continue down that road. Endurance, what do you got going on in the meantime?
I released a bunch of merch. I'm super exhausted. I'm falling asleep. I released a bunch of merch again. New distributor. It looks a lot better. Endurance, endomills.ca. Endo Mills Designs is the company that I have. That's for designs and videos and all that stuff. So check out the website. I have new collections out there. I have the Brosala Death Stare face. That was actually from, I believe that was from the launch week of NHL 24, when we had that one freeze frame of like my player model just looking really fucking creepy. Then we have the Carve Your Path collection and the Anti-Hockey Club collection. And buy those things, take a look, purchase them. It'd be nice if people could buy my merch. Buy my merch, please. Thank you so very much for playing my game.
Sin, what do you got going on?
I just started a new franchise mode finally after the trade deadline roster update came out. So we're running the St. Louis Blues, a team I've never done on my channel. So I'm excited to do that. It's having a lot of fun with it so far, and made some pretty big moves so far, trying to turn things around. And unlike them, I'm not just going to sit on the fence and hope for the best. We'll put it that way. So come check that series out.
In the meantime, I'll be playing a lot of MLB The Show now that game is out. A lot of Road to the Show and Dynasty franchise, call it what you will, on the Twitch side of things. Of course, YouTube-wise, I have more stuff than I can ever possibly freaking upload just because I'm going to be uploading like 5 videos a day. So, hey, YouTube-wise, we're not winding down on things anytime soon. We did put out the NHL 04 fantasy draft, the one-season challenge on 04, and that did really well. So I've been looking forward to doing a lot more kind of stuff like that, especially moving forward. It's just a lot more fun, I think, to do kind of one-off things like that every now and then, at least, as opposed to, like, I still love talking about the older games and putting a highlight on the older games. But anyway, more about that in the future. For now, everybody, thank you very much for supporting us here. We will be back next week. Until then, yeah, be good people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Endo, go take a nap.